afternoon and evening, everyone. I'm Tosca Lee, and I am one of the Rogue Women Writers. We are a group of 9 thriller writers whose backgrounds range from intelligence officer to journalist to crime scene analyst to special investigators, hostage negotiators, psychotherapists, international consultants, and White House strategists. A quick orientation, there's a chat room on the side of the screen, so if you click the chat icon, you'll see it there. Say a quick hello to everybody and where you're coming from if you'd like. Please feel free to introduce yourself with that. We'd love to know where you're joining us from. For those of you joining us on Facebook Live, please be sure to say hello and leave a comment if you have anything you'd like to tell the authors, and especially if you have a question that you would like to ask, and we'll do our best to try to accommodate them all. We are in for a big treat, as the authors tonight will be reading from their newest work, sharing a few of their favorite treats, and maybe even a few behind-the-scenes secrets. So if you have any secrets about your books, authors, get those already in your mind. I might be asking about that later on. All of the books discussed here tonight should be available to buy or pre-order through your local bookstore, so please be sure to grab or order a copy and support your local booksellers. And also check out our guests' previous work, which is a lot of books to choose from, so be sure you check those out as well. Let's use the hashtags hashtag Rogue Reads and hashtag Rogue Women Writers as we post about our experiences with these authors and their works tonight. Also, you can go rogue with us once a month. You can receive news and more before anyone else. Just sign up for our free monthly newsletter. We do have a quadruple giveaway tonight. So we are giving away 4 books tonight by our authors, the books that they will be talking about. We're very excited about that, so keep an eye on your inboxes. As I said, my name is Tosca Lee. I'm an author of 12 novels, most recently The Long March Home. I hope you'll be sure to check that one out if you haven't, and I'm coming to you tonight from Nebraska. And I'm thrilled to be emceeing this event. So now I'm going to introduce our 4 authors. And as I do, please feel free to post your questions at any time, and we will get to those, as many of them as we can. So let's get to it. So first up, Michelle. Michelle Gagnon is a former modern dancer, bartender, dog walker, model, personal trainer, freelance journalist, and Russian supper club performer. Her best-selling thrillers have been published in dozens of languages worldwide and were nominated for a Daphne du Maurier Award for Excellence in Mystery Suspense and a Thriller Award. Michelle has served as a court-appointed special advocate in the foster care system, specializing in work with the LGBTQ+ transitional age youth. She's a graduate of Wesleyan University, pursuing a master's degree in clinical psychology at Antioch University, Los Angeles. A native Rhode Islander, sort of, she is currently a reluctant Angelino where she lives with her family and way too many pets. And her newest book, Slaying You, releases tomorrow. Booklist calls it a wild, absorbing ride, and they recommend her series to readers who will appreciate hard-boiled crime delivered through a madcap filter. So, Michelle, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. Tell us about Slaying You.
So, Slaying You is the second book in the series. The first one was Killing Me. And basically, I'm not giving too much away with this because the opening page of Killing Me, you meet Amber, who is a young woman who has been kidnapped and is in the back of a serial killer's van. And she is annoyed about this. She is really angry at herself. She's like, I am not this person. This is not how I'm supposed to go out. And at the 11th hour, she gets rescued by this strange woman who also seems equally annoyed to be involved in all of this, and then disappears. And this whole experience ends up kind of blowing Amber's life up. And so she has to go on the run. And you find out all sorts of things about her and her past and about this other mysterious woman. And yet, despite the fact that she's already escaped a serial killer, she ends up being targeted by another one in Las Vegas. So
Wow.
the series, yes. So the series is set in kind of lowbrow Las Vegas. It's like it's not really the casinos unless it's like the cheap casinos. It's the budget buffets. It's the pawn shops. It's the seedier side of that world. And so the people that she meets are hotel owners and sex workers, and she ends up assembling this kind of motley crew to to basically stop this killer.
All right. And where did the idea for this series come from?
You know, I wanted a series that was very female focused and that also really focused on what I think are somewhat underappreciated skills that women have sometimes, which is their ability to form relationships, their ability to multitask and plan like 12 steps ahead. And so I really wanted that. And I was writing this during the pandemic, the first installment, and I really needed an escape hatch. I needed some fun. I desperately needed some fun. And so I decided to kind of write this campy version of Las Vegas where nobody at the time was wearing masks.
Aha, gotcha. Okay. Well, will you read a little bit to us?
I will. I'm going to read the very opening page. It'll be short from Slaying You because this is I don't usually write prologues, but I did for this one because I wanted to get Amber's voice in the reader's head right away. Odds Against Tomorrow. All of the chapter headings are taken from noir films because this is kind of a very neo-noir book. This is the opening paragraph is in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've heard that most people go through life without encountering a serial killer. In fact, the vast majority make it through without ever experiencing serious peril. They just saunter along, whistling jauntily to themselves, or at least that's how I imagine them. And then, after a relatively peaceful spin atop this green and blue marble, they expire in their sleep, a gentle smile on their lips. Gee, I wonder what that's like. Because here I am, halfway through my 24th year, about to confront my second murderous psychopath. Wait, nope, this is the third. When you forget one, that's a bad sign. At this point, maybe I should just acknowledge that a nice, normal life was never in the cards for me. Chasing down a freak? Yawn, must be Tuesday. Some combination of fate and DNA resulted in me being launched into the void like a pinball, destined to bang into all the dark shit out there. Are you ready, Toots? Dot asks in a low voice. I nod, tightening my grip on the gun. She holds up a finger and counts. 1, 2. On 3, she opens the door and I charge out.
Dun dun dun. All right. Well, I'm so excited to ask more questions, but we're going to go on and we're going to circle back to Michelle after we meet a few more of our authors. So next up is Brendan. Brendan Slocumb is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro with a degree in music education, concentrations in violin and viola. For the past 2 decades, he's been a public and private school music educator from kindergarten through 12th grade, teaching general music, orchestra, and guitar ensembles. He's a Nobel Teacher of Distinction and serves as an educational consultant for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. When he was 9, he started playing violin through a public school music program. His violin opened the door to opportunity, and he ran through it. Since then, he's performed with the Washington Metropolitan Symphony, the McLean Symphony, Prince George's Philharmonic, and the Alexandria Symphony. He served as the concertmaster for the Nova Annandale Symphony Orchestra and regularly performs chamber music with members of the Alexandria Chamber Music Society. Brendan believes that everyone can learn to appreciate and love music and that it can be a new way of communicating, building bonds, and connecting with people who may look, sound, or speak differently. Brendan's newest book is The Dark Maestro, which also releases tomorrow. About The Dark Maestro, Kirkus Reviews says this is an intricately plotted novel, paced perfectly by Slocumb, who keeps the book moving at a breakneck speed, but not at the expense of his beautifully drawn characters. Brendan, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. Oh, and can I say to Michelle, I can't wait to read that book. You got me. I'm in.
Me too. And I've heard the first one is like laugh out loud, like at times funny too. So, Brendan, tell us about the Dark Maestro.
I'm really happy you asked that. First, thank you all so much for having me here. I'm really, really excited. Thank you so much. I'm working on the elevator pitch for Dark Maestro, and I have not gotten it down yet, so this is going to be ugly. It's a story of a kid who wants to play the cello, and he manages to not only learn to play the cello, but learn to do it at a very high level, which takes him out of the crime-ridden Southeast DC, and he becomes one of the most famous sought-after cellists in the world.
Hmm.
Right as he hits the height of his career, the FBI come in and say, "Come with us if you want to live." He has to go into witness protection. His shady father and mother figure, who's a lot less shady, are also in witness protection because of something that his father did. And when they find out that the FBI is not going to be able to capture the bad guys so they can get their life back, they take matters into their own hands.
Well, I think that elevator pitch was pretty good.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. There's one. All right. I'll take it.
There you go. All right. Well, where did the idea for the Dark Maestro come from?
Believe it or not, it actually started off as one thing. I'd gone to a place and I was intrigued by hypnotism, and I'd been hypnotized once, and I knew it was the coolest thing. So I was like, oh, I'm going to put that in a book. But then my personal circumstances changed a lot, and I decided to go with this theme of this cellist and some of the criminal activity that his father is engaged in. If I tell you exactly what it is, I'll give away a lot. But I can say to you, if you read the author's notes, it brings everything together.
Okay. Well, will you read to us?
I will. I will.
Okay.
I will. I will. It's going to be hard to live up to Michelle's thing. Now, this is I think this is the scene where one of the protagonists, Curtis, this is the part where he really is making it known how important music is to him. Curtis dragged himself to his feet. The next punch he saw coming, time slowed for a moment. He almost put his hands up to block. He could see the fist, see his own hands in the air, desperate to catch it. With almost superhuman will, he pulled his hands down, lifting his head and turning his chin as the blow took him square in the collarbone. Half an hour later, Curtis was in the nurse's office. Zippy and Larissa had been called in, along with the principal and Coach Mickens. An ambulance was on the way. The nurse thought his shoulder might be broken or dislocated. A scary-looking bruise pulsed near his spine. The blood from a cut on his skull had bled all over his shirt. Larissa was kneeling in front of him, tears in her eyes. "What is it, Poppy? What is it with you?" "We got to make you into a fighter," Zippy said. "I can't believe it. What kind of school is this? Where are the teachers who are supposed to stop this kind of shit? Where's the kid that did this? Where are his parents?" His dad's voice grated over him, sending up a tingling feeling on the back of his neck. The pain throbbed everywhere, but mostly in Curtis's guts. He was so embarrassed. How could he not fight back? His dad didn't understand, and Curtis felt like a failure, like he'd never possibly succeed in any way that was meaningful. His dad just wanted a kid who wouldn't get picked on like a little girl. Instead, he got Curtis. He wished he could open the gray-red cross locker next to him and disappear inside it forever. "What is it?" Larissa repeated, holding Curtis's gaze. "They say you didn't fight back." Curtis was old enough by now. He was 10 to identify the issue. In The Amazing Spider-Man, Flash Thompson bullied Peter Parker daily, but Peter never fought back. Curtis knew he needed to fight, but it was as if he was 5 again or younger. Mute with despair and embarrassment, he wanted to tell her. Larissa more than anyone. He thought she would already understood, so he did the only thing he could think of. He opened his hands and looked down at them. She followed his gaze, then looked back up at his face. "What, Poppy?" Then her eyes widened as she looked down again. "You didn't want to hurt your hands," she said, so quietly, almost to herself. Curtis nodded. He couldn't tell her, couldn't tell any of them what seemed so obvious, that his whole body could be battered and destroyed, but even a broken finger might mean that he would not be able to play.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much. We're going to come back to Brendan, but first we're going to go on and we're going to meet Tori Eldridge. Tori is the best-selling author of the Lily Wong mystery thriller series, as well as a two-time Anthony Award nominee, Lefty and Macavity Awards finalist, and winner of the 2021 Crimson Scribe Award for Best Book of the Year. Before writing, Tori performed as an actress, singer, dancer on Broadway, television, and film. Born and raised in Honolulu, of Hawaiian, Chinese, and Norwegian descent, Tori graduated from Punahou. Did I say it right, Tori?
Punahou.
Punahou
Mm-hmm.
School with classmate Barack Obama. After living in New York City and Los Angeles, she now lives and writes from Portland, Oregon. Her deep interest in world culture has prompted her to visit 9 countries, including Brazil, China, and Japan. Tori is a real ninja. She holds a 5th-degree black belt in Toshindo ninja martial arts and has taught classes and seminars across the U.S. Her book, KAUA'I Storm, releases May 20th, so 1 week from tomorrow. So we have so many exciting books coming up. And Kirkus calls it an atmospheric love letter to Hawaii's Garden Isle with episodes of action and mystery. Welcome, Tori.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is so great. I love Rogue readers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and tell us about KAUA'I Storm.
Oh, all righty. Well, let's see. My protagonist is Ranger Makalani Pahukula, and she is a national park ranger and law enforcement officer for Crater Lakes National Park in Oregon. And she's coming back to her grandmother's homestead in Kauai to celebrate her grandmother's birthday. And what she finds is her beautiful ohana in complete disarray. Everybody is at each other's throats because 2 of her cousins have gone missing and her auntie's families are blaming each other. And so Makalani is coming into this and she feels a responsibility, being the eldest of the eldest, to find and rescue and look out for her cousins and also restore the peace in her family. So this is as much a mystery adventure in the wilderness of Kauai and also a family life fiction drama, right? With a multi-generational, multicultural family.
Mm-hmm. And where did the idea for KAUA'I Storm come from?
Well, you know, if I was going to write about my own homeland, if I was going to write about Kanaka Maoli, Native Hawaiians, I knew it had to center around family. It had to center around family and it had to center around the land. And so out of my research came these characters, and I built this whole genealogy for the Pahukula family. And out of that came this mystery.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can't wait to hear it. So will you read to us?
Sure, I'll read a little bit of chapter 1. Giant fronds of hapu'u ferns whipped Makalani's face as she plowed through the Kauai rainforest away from the men. They had emerged from the jungle like a pack of wild dogs, barking commands to find, catch, kill. "Over there!" a man yelled, then pumped his shotgun with a distinctive ka-chunk. Makalani dived into the red-spotted ama'u fern seconds before the pellets shredded the leaves. A centipede crept toward her nose. She blew it away. She wasn't dead yet. The pistol holstered inside her waistband dug into her ribs, but she rolled onto her hip. Another blast peppered the fronds overhead. She left the weapon in place and scurried through the plants. Even an armed ranger needed better cover for a firefight than ferns. "You get 'em!" a man yelled. Makalani didn't wait for the reply. Staying as low as her near 6-foot frame would allow, she barreled through the undergrowth toward the darker shadows beneath the thick canopy of ohia lehua and koa trees. Because of her size, her pursuers had mistaken her for a man. That same size made it harder to slip between the bushes without rustling the leaves. Not for the first time, she wished she had inherited her mother's slender grace. Who am I kidding? If I were more like Mama, I wouldn't be in this mess.
Thank you, Tori. You know, I love
Welcome.
hearing writers read their work. I just feel like it's not something we get to experience and enjoy often enough. So that's one of the reasons I love this event when we have it.
I appreciate that. I was doubly excited to be hired to narrate my own audiobook.
Oh,
So,
exciting.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
exciting. You don't see that very often.
No, not too often.
Pretty rare. All right, well, we're going to circle back to Tori in just a little bit, but right now we are going to go on to Lee Hollis, who, if you hear me call him Rick, it's because Rick Kopp, also known as Lee Hollis. So he's writing under Lee Hollis. So he was 2 years out of New York University's Tisch School of the Arts when he was tapped at 24 years old to become a staff writer on the enormously popular NBC sitcom The Golden Girls in 1988. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially for a boy from Bar Harbor, Maine, love Bar Harbor, who grew up dreaming of living underneath the famous Hollywood sign, a dream that became a reality soon after his arrival in Los Angeles. He spent the next 5 years writing for a number of series, including NBC's Wings, Fox's Flying Blind, and HBO's Dream On, and that was only the beginning. In 2001, Rick decided to fulfill another goal and write a mystery novel. He'd been playing around with a character named Jared Jarvis, a former child star turned PI, and in 2010, when Rick's sister, Holly Simonson, won an award for her cooking column in their hometown's local paper, he saw an opportunity. He writes mysteries, she writes recipes, so why not combine the two for a new book series? And the Haley Powell Food and Cocktails Mystery Series was born. The brother and sister writing team have collaborated on 14 books and counting. And Rick's new novel, My Father Always Finds Corpses, releases May 27th. Publishers Weekly gave it a starred review, calling it hilarious. Pop culture references throughout add to the fun, and Hollis wraps up the mystery with a truly surprising twist. Dun dun dun. So welcome, Lee.
Thank you. I hadn't heard that. I'm excited.
Welcome, and please tell us about My Father Always Finds Corpses. I'm so intrigued with just the title.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I created this character, Jared Jarvis, this gay former child actor, 22 years ago, and I wrote 3 mysteries featuring him, and he was dating a police officer, and they were kind of a gay heart-to-heart a little bit, and but the books, they just bombed. They didn't do that well. They never, nobody really bought them, and I love that character, but you move on, and I went to a psychic like a few years after that, and he said that character will come back someday, and I thought he was crazy because the books didn't do well at all. And lo and behold, 2 years ago, my editor in New York called and said, I'd like to bring Jared back and make him my age, more close to 60, and has a daughter and living in Palm Springs where I live, and do a father-daughter murder mystery. And so that was how it all came to be, and it's set as a standalone, but you never know. If it does well, maybe we'll do more. But
have you been to that psychic since?
Well, unfortunately, he passed away. But,
oh, well.
He was pretty right about a lot of things. Yeah.
Very good, your hotline. So, well,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where did the idea for this particular book about Jared come from?
Well, like I said, I wanted to do something with a daughter and surrogacy, which plays a big part in the book. And so that's how it all started. But yeah, it was basically, I was just excited to catch up with his character, and she, the daughter, and now he's a widower. His partner passed 10 years ago, and so it's a lot. The father and daughter become a little estranged, because of the grief, and they're doing their own thing, and so this kind of. Her boyfriend winds up getting killed, and they team up as a. She never knew about her father's past like doing this amateur sleuthing, and so they team up and kind of investigating the murder brings them back together, and it strengthens their relationship again.
Okay. Well, Lee, will you read to us?
Yes, I hope this isn't. I mean, it's a couple pages, but I'm a fast reader, so.
Perfect. Take your time.
Okay. Outside lives Slode, falling in step behind her father as they rush down a bustling street full of tourists. How's the play going? Jared frowned. It's an unmitigated disaster. It's probably going to ruin my credibility both as an author and a director. I don't even know why I was foolish enough to say yes to this. Liv scoffed, lightly, a smirk playing on her lips. Come on, Dad, you always say that. And then opening night sells out, she teased. Jared shrugged with a sheepish grin. Well, that's because I always hire an actor who looks like a porn star and have him pose shirtless for the poster advertising the play. Inevitably, all the gays will show up no matter how bad the production is, he explained with a wink. Liv rolled her eyes, shaking her head. You're shameless, she remarked, though there was fondness in her tone. That's not why I wanted to talk to you. I recently heard from an old friend. Do you remember Isis? Yes, I do. I overheard you and Papa Charlie talking about her. Wasn't she that fake clairvoyant who used to give you psychic readings? Liv, like Charlie, was a strict non-believer in any kind of otherworldly pursuits. Yes, but she isn't a fake. She actually has a real gift. Whatever, Dad. What kind of name is Isis anyway? She was born in the 70s. Her parents named her after the Shazam Isis Hour from Saturday Morning Kids TV. Isis was a goddess superhero who wore an amulet that gave her the power of animals and the elements. Sort of like a poor man's Wonder Woman. The show was hugely popular. Her parents had no idea that one day Isis would be the name of a terrorist group that beheads people. It was very unfortunate for her. I haven't heard from her in years, but yesterday I received a text from her. She felt the need to get in touch with me because she had a vision in her mind, so I called her. Liv sighed dismissively. She gave you a psychic reading over the phone? Yes, they can do that. So are you going to win the lottery or something? No, she didn't see me, she saw you. Me? You were standing over a dead body. Liv stopped in her tracks. What? Jared nodded gravely. It was definitely you. She recognized you from the Christmas card I sent out to everyone I know a few years ago. She believes the person you were standing over was murdered. Oh, come on, Dad. What is this? Was she shuffling her tarot cards and turned over the death card or something like silly like that? No, the death card doesn't always mean literal death. But trust me, Liv, Isis is good. Real good. We have a long history. She's done this before. Years ago when I was younger and living in the Hollywood Hills, she predicted the same thing with me. She predicted the dead body, and then I discovered the corpse of an old friend floating dead in a swimming pool, and it turned out to be a homicide. I have to be honest, Dad, I can't believe someone of your intelligence buys into this crap. It's so Hollywood, all this psychic and new agey stuff. Liv started walking again. She was just like her puppet, Charlie. Look, Liv, I'm just a little worried. She raised a hand, cutting him off. Okay, for the sake of argument, let's say she did see something. I'm planning to attend the opening night of your play. It's a murder mystery. There will be a dead body on stage. No, I told her about the play. That's not it. It's an actual dead body, and she senses real danger ahead. Liv could not help but emit a derisive giggle. I know it sounds silly, but you know, I really ought to call this woman and give her a piece of my mind for scaring you like this. You can be so impressionable, Dad. She could see the hurt on her father's face and softened a bit. So she just called you out of the blue with this premonition. When was the last time you spoke to her? I saw her at Charlie's memorial, but we didn't speak because I was too broken up to talk to anybody that day. And she called a few months before Charlie died. She predicted he would be leaving his job as a detective soon, which I found utterly ridiculous. Your father loved his work. He wasn't ever going to quit. But then, right after that, he got sick and died. Liv could feel her cheeks burning with anger. I can't believe you're putting any stock in this woman. It sounds to me like she's trying to stir things up. She's never been wrong, Liv, at least not with me. He started peppering her with questions about what was going on in her life, trying to find any clue that might indicate there was some kind of trouble ahead, and she resented him for it. They hardly spoke as it was. Why try now? Just because some charlatan had come out of the woodwork with a cockamamie psychic prediction? They had reached the yoga studio. She leaned in and gave him a awkward kiss on the cheek. I gotta go, Dad. We'll talk about this later, okay? Jared nodded, disappointed that she was not taking him seriously. Eyes downcast, he mumbled, I'm sorry, Liv. I didn't mean to upset you. I'll be fine. I'll call you. She gave him a quick wave and bounded inside the studio for her class. She knew she had just lied to him. She had no intention of discussing this nonsense with him and ever again, a decision she would soon come to regret.
Love it. We have a lot of good reading ahead of us. So I hope that everybody watching is making your book wish lists right now. All right, we're going to circle back to Lee in just a few minutes, but for now, we're going back to Michelle. Favorite snack is Takis Fuego, usually paired with June Shine Tequila Margarita, which is a kombucha drink with a kick. And I didn't have one of those, but I did have a high noon canned margarita until I found out one of my adult kids drank it. So I was going to do the thing and had it here, but it's gone. Somebody drank it while mowing the lawn. So anyway, that is Michelle's favorite snack and drink. So Michelle, question now.
Yeah.
This is, as you mentioned, book 2 in your Amber Jameson series, a series that combines thrills and humor. So what would you say is one of the secrets of writing humor that hits?
You know, it's a really good question. I actually feel like it was something I really struggled with my first. I mean, it's funny. This is my 13th book coming out on the 13th of May, which is kind of cool.
Ooh, cool.
I feel like particularly with my first 4 adult novels, I really struggled to get the humor in. So sometimes when people tell me they went back and read those, I'm a little like cringe. Like, I don't know. I have no memory of what those books are even like at this point. With this one, it was Amber made it really easy, honestly. I just could hear her voice in my head, and I thought she was really funny, and I thought she was really smart, and I thought she was really resourceful. And she has this very sort of wry sense of humor that I think kind of matches my own.
And even though this is you've written about these characters before, I'm curious, what new research did you have to do for this installment that you haven't done before?
Well, it's tricky because for me, since I don't live in Las Vegas, and I visited a bunch, but I had to spend a lot of time, especially there's a lot of big set pieces in my books. I love me a big set piece. So, and I wanted this to feel kind of like Ocean's 11 meets like the Thomas Crown Affair. So I needed to find places, like there's a big scene at the Fremont Street Outdoor Experience, for example, in this book. There's a couple of scenes in kind of more, shadier casinos. The first book, there was a big take at Circus. So I wanted to have fun with the setting so that Vegas would really be a character in the book. And for that took a lot of research.
I love that. Is there like is there like a fun secret or a little bit of unknown background in this book, like a little tidbit or something you could share that somebody might not know about the story? A hidden Easter egg?
Well, so as it mentioned in my bio, I am actually a therapist now, and I work at the LGBT Center here in LA with transitional age youth, most of whom are coming out of foster care or currently unhoused. And so what I love about Amber is that she is someone who has a background that's kind of similar to a lot of the folks that I work with.
Mhm.
And she grew up as a con artist. She was raised in a family by con artists. And so her whole childhood was, a couple days, maybe a few weeks at most, running from town to town and pulling these little cons with her parents. And she's been really trying to go straight. At the beginning of the book, that's what she's doing. She's like kind of assumed this identity. She's going straight. And she decided she wanted to go back to school to study psychology because she felt like that would be a good fit, because what con artists have and psychologists have in trouble is it's an ability to read people. That's like a shared skill, which is also something I think most writers have. I think that we're all great students of people, and that's how we write our books.
So that kind of ties into this question. Deborah has a question for every author, and that is, are any of the characters like you personally?
I think Amber is definitely the closest. Amber is kind of who I maybe wish I had been when I was 24, because I think she's she's got more street smarts than I had at that age, for sure. But yeah, in terms of her, her inner voice, that's definitely very close to mine.
And you have a lot of pets.
I have too many pets.
Too many pets. And what are these pets? Because I've read about them and I've heard about them, but
Yeah, I've got 3 dogs, and all of my pets are rescues. I've got 3 dogs and 2 cats, and they all came to us in various ways. But the dogs, especially, when I'm walking them, people are always asking for my dog walker's card, because nobody would own these 3 dogs together. They're like, literally, it's like a little Chihuahua. It's kind of a medium-sized, sort of scruffy terrier who looks like Tramp from Lady and the Tramp. And then we've got this kind of, it looks like a cross between a husky and a corgi.
And you did dog walk, didn't you? Did I see that?
I did do dog walking way back in the day. Yeah,
Okay.
back when I was Amber's age, actually living in New York. I was bartending and walking dogs to make ends meet while I was dancing.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle. We're going to circle back, but Brendan, we're coming your way right now. Brendan's favorite thing to drink is orange juice, and that is something that I always do have on hand because I drink a lot of orange juice myself, and he also likes this is just weird, Brendan, I have to say, but you like to pair it with peanut M&Ms, like orange juice and peanut M&Ms. I don't know.
Don't knock it until you tried it. I'm telling you.
Orange juice and peanut M&Ms. Okay, so Brendan, do you play the cello?
I play cello well enough to make it look like I play the cello. If I had to, I mean, I played gigs on cello, but it's not my preferred instrument. And yeah, I'd rate myself a 6 out of 10.
Okay. And you're writing about something you know and understand well, which is music.
Mhm.
But did you have to do any new research? So did you have to research anything specifically new to you for the Dark Maestro?
I did. I actually did. And just to go back to Deborah's question, the one of the protagonists, Curtis, is every beginning student I've ever taught, and he was me when I was, 8, 9 years old. He was totally me. So he was an easy character to develop because I just, hey, what did I do when I was okay? Yeah, I got it. The research, I actually had to, I called a retired U.S. Marshal, and I got a lot of insight from him. He gave me a ton of information about the witness protection program, what it's like once you're in it, what you have to do to be accepted, how strenuous it is. I really think people are going to learn from this story. It's tough. It is really tough. It's physically tough. It's emotionally tough, psychologically tough. It's nuts. You would not believe what people have to go through. And, you say, well, you just move someplace and don't give them your real name. There's so much more to it than that. And I found out a lot, and I was really happy that he was, able to share as much as he did. Now that he's retired, he's like, okay, I can tell you this now that I'm not working anymore. But a lot of the stuff you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. But yeah, it was fascinating.
Wow. Are there any little fun tidbits or Easter eggs or secret things hidden in this book you can tell us about?
Yes. My first book, The Violin Conspiracy, my second book, Symphony of Secrets, and the third one, Dark Maestro, they all take place in the same universe. So there will be references from the previous two books, and Dark Maestro closes out this universe. And maybe some characters live, maybe some don't, and you never know. So if you're really curious, I wouldn't say go back and reread, but there's definitely references to past characters from different stories in a meaningful way.
So no more books in the same universe after Dark Maestro.
This universe is officially closed. It's like Thanos went, and we're done.
Okay, okay. So I imagine you're embarking on book tour very soon. Uh,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow, will you be performing at any of your stops?
Yes. I'm actually, I just did a couple of weeks ago. I was in LA. I was in Thousand Oaks, California, and I performed out there. And I'm going to Dallas at the end of May, and I'll be performing with some students there. And yeah, I got to practice. I really have to practice, but it's kind of, when do you have time to practice? You're doing all this stuff, and I'm going to be on the road all next week, and it's going to be a little difficult, but I'll be able to pull it out, I'm sure.
So everybody watching, be sure and check the tour schedules for all of these authors and go see them in person if you can. And if you get a chance to catch Brendan, then you might be able to hear him play.
Hopefully not, but yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll circle back, but right now we're going to go to Tori. So Tori's favorite snacks and drinks are makalani and tree-ripened papaya and Japanese rice crackers as a snack paired with makalani and guava juice, sparkling water, and a squeeze of lime. And so Tori, this all sounds beautiful, and I want to have these things. I live in Nebraska. So the the biracial Asian girl in me just really wants to have these things to eat and wants the Japanese rice crackers. But tell us what makalani is.
What makalani is? You mean what ethnically?
Well, for a food, like what
Oh no,
kind
well,
of
makalani is a person.
yeah, oh,
Makalani Pahukula is the name of my character, and what she likes to eat is kakimochi, also known as arare or mochi crunch, and that's the rice crackers. And when I was growing up in Hawaii, that's what we ate. Even when we went to movies, right? You guys, everybody's picking up popcorn. We also had iso peanuts and that and kakimochi, and then we'd have like lihing mui, which are like preserved plums with these salty sweets that, you'd have to grow up in Hawaii to want to do that. And the other weird thing that we would sneak into theaters, dried cuttlefish. Yeah, this stringy dried
I
cuttlefish.
I have
I
had
love
this.
it.
This is bar food in Asia, is the dried cuttlefish, and we eat that with when we drink beer and stuff.
I know, right? It's
Yeah.
salty and sweet. That's the thing in Hawaii. Everything is salty and sweet. You know, you got to replace all the sweat. That's your.
I feel like I've been missing out. We'd sneak like, Burger King cheeseburgers in our purses into the theater, but here you've
Wow.
got the good stuff. So,
A little
um,
bit messy.
and now you are a former dancer, and I know you performed in Cats and the original traveling cast, and you were also on the Love Boat and many others. Do you have any favorite memories from your times dancing and performing?
Wow. Well, let's see. When I was on the Love Boat, we were one of the Love Boat mermaids. We were the resident act on the cruise liner. And so we had all these special guests and we would perform with them and everything. We had the Temptations. We had Betty White. We had Carol Channing. It was really fun meeting all these people, Andy Warhol, and even sometimes performing with them. So I think that was pretty fun. When I was on Cats, I met Morris the cat. Yeah, I got to do a photo shoot with him. Oh my God, I got to do a photo shoot with him right before the curtain call, and I'm allergic to cats.
I am too.
And
Morris
I
the
got
cat is the cat commercial cat, right?
yes,
yeah.
and I didn't realize it at the time. I got his fur all over my makeup, and if you guys know about cats, right, your whole face is in makeup. I had to wash the whole thing off, and in like 20 minutes, wash everything off and put it all back on, and run out into stage. Yeah, that was maybe
Oh,
not the
no.
best call.
But it was Morris the cat.
It was
So
Morris the cat, had to hug
are
him.
any of the characters in Kauai Storm like you personally?
Oh gosh, you know what? I think I put in, don't we all, right? I put in a little bit of me into everybody, right? So when it comes to Makalani, she has too much energy for Hawaii, and you probably notice I have a lot. And I was very driven, hardworking, and she's very much like that. But a big character of this is her grandmother, Tutu. And my grandkids call me Tutu. And Tutu is the keeper of the Hawaiian traditions, Olelo Hawaii, the native Hawaiian language. And that's the thing that Makalani is coming home to. It's Tutu's homestead. And Tutu is the one who chants and sings. And so now I find myself, as I've been writing, I've been working on these books for a while, right? And as I've been researching and writing, it's come at a perfect time in my own life with a 4-year-old granddaughter, and my grandson is 15 months. And I find myself reconnecting with my Hawaiian roots a lot more and reconnecting with the language. And so when I was holding Nahele means forest and Moana means ocean. And that's their names. And when I was holding him and cradling him and feeding him, because I'm living with the family right now, I would just compose songs. And one of them, actually, I'm going to sing you a little bit. I am, because I wrote it for Nahele, and his name means forest. And I would just start to sing with him, and I'd sing, Nahele, ika Nahele, running through the trees. Nahele, ika Nahele, won't you play with me? Ke kanine ka ele paio, tweet, tweet, tweet. Ahua pua, snort, snort, snort. Apakamakani, whoosh, whoosh. Everybody play with me. So that's not something you expected, huh?
Your grandkids get custom songs.
They get
I
custom
love it.
songs, yes, custom songs and cuddles, from their tutu.
I feel inadequate. I have a grandbaby now, and I feel inadequate as a grandma because I'm not making up any music. All right. Thank you, Tori. We're going to circle back to you, but we are going to chat now with Lee. Lee's favorite drink and snack is red wine. It's a drink. It's a snack. It's both.
I think I'm the only big drinker here.
Oh, you're not the only one. Trust me. Any particular red wine, Rick?
No, if it's red, it's going down. No, I
Oh,
love.
okay.
I do like a lighter Pinot Noir, but yeah, no,
If it comes out of a box.
Yeah, you know, I went to a wine tasting party recently, and they had us taste 6 different wines. We all had to rank them, and 5 out of the 6 people picked the boxed wine as the number one.
You
So
know, I don't
boxed wine is
discriminate. You know,
underrated.
I've had some good box wines in my day. So, all right. So, Lee, I have to know, what was it like writing for the Golden Girls?
Oh, wonderful. I mean, it was like it happened so young. I was living in New York, and you know, and I'd written these spec scripts with a writing partner, David Goodman, and the writer's strike of '88 was going on, 1988, and no one was doing anything. So this woman we knew in New York sent our scripts to Tony Thomas, who was Danny Thomas's son, who was the producer on the show. And like 2 weeks before my 24th birthday, I got this call. I thought it was a prank. I thought it was David playing a trick on me, and it was Tony Thomas going, "Would you come out and work on the Golden Girls?" And 3 weeks later, we were in LA, and on the set, I just couldn't believe it. It was nuts, and they were all lovely. They were all great professionals. I mean, for me, you know, having been a child of the '70s, I knew like B. Arthur as Maude. I loved Maude, and Betty as Sue Ann Nivens was like my absolute favorite character, you know. But that experience was so good because you always think everything's going to be like that, you know. After you start on a show like that, you're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be like this for the next 20. Well, you know, clearly not, but but yeah, and you know, I got to meet Dick Van Dyke, and all these guest stars would come through, and it was just insane. It was a real unexpected experience in life, you know.
Wow. And I have to say too, I used to live for the Isis Shazam Power Hour.
Yeah,
So
me too.
Isis, I loved her. Yep. I wanted to be an archaeologist just because I thought that character was so cool and all that stuff too.
Oh,
So,
that's great. That's great.
how was it making the shift from writing for TV to writing then novels? And you've also written graphic novels, you've written all kinds of things, but
You know,
how was that transition?
you know what it was? It was like back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Like I was writing a lot of television, but I always wanted to do a gay heart to heart. You know, like I always wanted to like create because there wasn't anything like that on television. And I was working at Universal, and I'd go and I'd pitch it, and they would just look, no, we're not there yet. You know, we're just not there yet. And so I realized that there was maybe if I pursued it as a novel, it would, and it did. I got the publisher, and that's why I'm so excited about this new book, because it's bringing that back. It's bringing that character that I haven't really seen or been with, you know, in over 20 years. It's almost like a reunion. And so to be able to explore what's going on in his life and his loss, and this adult daughter now who's like 22, it was a real treat. It was a real treat to be able to do that. So I really am grateful to my editor of over 20 years.
Wow. And are there any characters in the story that are like you?
Oh, yes. I mean, Jared, you know, in fact, the first 3 books I wrote in the first person because it was so me, you know,
I
and
see.
I drew from my experience. At that point, I think I'd already worked in Hollywood for like 14 years. So I was drawing on the experiences, and I was a writer, he was an actor, but yeah. And so when I transitioned to the cozy mysteries, you know, and so I did the Haley Powell series with my sister, and that character is clearly based on my sister. So it was fun. We're about to write our 19th book in that series. So it was mostly spending time with her, you know, like I felt like I was hanging out with my sister writing those books.
And so that touches on a question that Gail had for you about, she wanted to know if the Haley Powell series will continue.
Well,
Like
good news, bad news. You know, apparently we're all aware now that the mass market paperback is completely, you know, not going anywhere anymore. It's all trade paperbacks and hardcovers, and so Haley Powell was always a mass market book. So we have a book coming out in the series, Death of a Tom Turkey. It's a Thanksgiving murder, and then we're about to start writing the last Haley Powell book, which is number 19. However, we are going to do a sequel series with Haley and her daughter, so it'll be like a mother-daughter. So she's not going anywhere. She's coming back, but in trade paperback.
Okay. And then also Gail wanted to know, as a writer for the Golden Girls, do you plan to read the book that just came out, Murder by Cheesecake, a Golden Girls cozy mystery It's by Rachel Courage. Rachel
Oh,
Extra
I
Courage.
absolutely will. I didn't hear about it till just now. So yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Apparently there's a Golden Girls cozy mystery,
That's
so
wonderful. Oh, I bet
put
it'll do
that one
well.
on your list.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Is there a fun secret?
I'm actually next month doing a panel in LA for the 40th anniversary of the show with premiering.
Oh my
They're
gosh,
back-
wow.
Bringing back writers and people who worked on the show for a big panel, and so
So
yeah,
fun.
it'll be fun because it's so sad they're all gone.
Yeah, that's right. Is there a fun secret or a bit of unknown trivia or an Easter egg in your upcoming release that you could share? Any secret stuff?
Well, that whole in what the portion I read, that whole when he's talking about her the psychic predicting finding the body in the swimming pool, and that was the whole first book. That was so for people there was a very tiny devoted base of readers who did read those books, and they're very excited because they're rereading them now and to get ready for this sequel, and so throughout the book I drop little things like that, Easter eggs for people who read the first three,
That's
so
great. I think
so.
people always enjoy those and appreciate them. Well, I'm going to ask Chris, can you bring all of our authors up on the screen for a quick round robin? And then also, if there's any other questions, this would be the time for you to put your questions up if you have them for these authors. But otherwise, real quick, round robin style, and we're just going to go, well, on my screen, I don't know if it's the same for you. We've got Lee, Michelle, Tori, and Brendan. We'll just go like that. So round robin, are you a plotter or a pantser? And when I ask that, viewers, I'm asking, do they plot their stuff out and outline it, or do they just wing it and go? So, Lee.
I'm a huge plotter. I was trained in TV where you had to do outlines for everything. And so it was just a natural for me to plot it out and know where I was going.
Okay, yeah, Michelle?
Huge pantser. No
Huge
idea.
pantser. Okay. All right, Tori?
I'm half and half. I started writing in screenplays, so I love plotting things out. These days, it seems that I can only get halfway through with the real detailed summaries. And so from then, it just goes on its own. But I always know where I'm headed. I always know where the end is.
Okay. All right, Brendan?
Definitely a plotter. First thing I ever wrote, I tried to pants it, which is why no one will ever read that book.
All right, now a new one. One interesting part of your daily writing routine, and any weird rituals?
Oh, oh gosh, just lots of coffee. It's not weird. I'm a morning writer. Like I like to get done by noon, and then it's Palm Springs, so you want to be outside after.
Sounds good, Michelle.
So I aim for 2,500 words a day when I'm doing the writing part, which usually takes a couple of hours. And if I get stuck, I walk. I have a hike right by my house, and I will just close the laptop, go on the hike, and usually things kind of unsort themselves along the way.
Okay, love it. Tori?
Yeah, very similar. I'm a very kinetic person. And so I have a laptop and I shift positions, standing, sitting, sometimes while doing yoga, sometimes while standing on one foot. If I get stuck like Michelle, I go outside, go for a hike, go for a walk, and I talk to myself, record it on the phone, copy paste it, put that in there and take it from there. And it usually, gets me going again.
Okay. All right, Brendan?
I am a musician, so I have that discipline that I'm grateful for. I do about 2,500 words a day too. I write at the exact same time every day, and I don't stop until I've got my 2,500 words in.
What time do you do it?
After the gym, after breakfast, after a shower, so it's usually around 11:30 or noon.
Wow, sometimes I start at like 4:30 or 5 just before the babies wake up.
In the morning.
Yeah, in the morning.
Wow. Wow. Early. Okay, let me ask you this. Is there a Oh, yes, we do have a question from Facebook. So let me put this question to you all. do you need to read your previous books first? And I assume that this is for series type books, maybe? Um, or just in general, do you need to read any of your previous work first? Lee?
Not generally, although for this, I just handed in the proposal and the outline for the sequel series. And I did bring some characters back from a book we wrote like 5 years ago called Death of a Cookbook Author. So I listened to it in my car just so I could remember everything about these characters. And but that was really the only time I've ever done that. I'll go back and remember minor characters I want to find the name for, but I don't usually read the whole book.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Michelle?
So I read in Scribner, which I just am so in love with. And in Scribner, you can have a little section that's characters, it's settings. I even have one because I do use these noir titles as chapter headings. So I keep track of all of that in the notes section on Scribner. And when I'm starting the next book, I literally just save it as a new document. So I have all of that information still contained in there. So I don't have to read the new book, but I do go back to my notes.
You've got it handy there. Okay. Tori?
I also write in Scrivener, and I love the binder because it has all my chapters, and I've got I name them, with little cues. So with KAUA'I Storm, that was the first book in a series, but recently I just turned in the second book in the series, and a lot of the characters that are in the first book are in the second, even though this one takes place on Hawaii Island. And so what I did was I would, search through Scrivener to pull up those characters, those details to refresh my memory. But no, I don't intentionally read my work. I don't have that kind of time. But oddly enough, because I narrated the audiobook, I have heard this story, this KAUA'I Storm, a lot of times by rehearsing it, then by audio recording it. So I think more than any book I've ever written, I've heard this one and read this one more after it's been published or after it's been turned in.
Especially after narrating it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brendan. Yeah.
I have never reread one of my books. I read them at least 24 times as I'm going through. I always go back and start with whatever chapter I left off, and I read the whole thing through. I must have read each book, I know, at least 24 times. So by the time someone's like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about because I haven't read this for a year or so. I don't know, but sure, I'll go and look it up." But no, I don't go. But I think I need to start doing that because I don't know. These might be some good stories. I might remember something. I don't know. It's good stuff. I'm gonna go start rereading.
There you go. Yeah. Well, here's another question that just came up. Deborah wants to know, as a reader, does she need to read your so as a reader, need to read your previous books before reading the new ones? So, Lee?
No, I don't think so. I've had a lot of readers jump into one of my series midway or even late in the series, and they'll go back. But I try, every mystery is self-contained. There's a lot of character stories that evolve over the series, but it's not. It doesn't prevent you from just jumping in and reading the mystery.
Okay, Michelle?
I think it would be fun. I mean, my hope is that you read the first book and then you just can't wait to get into the second one. It's not necessary. I mean, our editors insist that we put enough little breadcrumbs along the way without having these big exposition dumps. And so I think you certainly don't have to, but I would recommend it.
Okay, Tori?
I go out of my way to make sure that a reader can pop in at any time. With my Lily Wong series, there is a huge arc for it. All 4 books take place in 3 months. And so there is a benefit to doing that. That said, the 4th book, which is the big epic conclusion, I often tell people, okay, if you're up and you're up for reading a series, start with The Ninja Daughter. But if you want to just jump in on something exciting, you want to go to Shanghai, Japan, really be there with this, ninja action, just jump in with The Ninja's Oath. And if you love it, and I hope you will, you'll go back.
If you want ninja action.
That's
All
right.
Brendan?
I tell people that it's easy to just read each book separately, even though they all are in the same universe. there are certain names and situations that are mentioned. I mean, they're all relevant because they're all in the same place. You could literally read them in any order, but I just tell people to start with the Violent Conspiracy just to, oh, I remember that guy from the last book. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, just to, yeah, because there's always going to be an Easter egg.
Yeah. Okay. And here's another question from Facebook, and it's kind of unusual. What's something that you would advise aspiring writers not to do or not to focus on? Lee.
I would say I wouldn't focus on writing for the market. You know, what you think might sell. You have to write something that inspires you, that you want to read, and you know, if you're excited about it, and people will find it. You know.
Okay, Michelle.
I think I have two quick pieces of advice. My first is, even if you only write a page a day, at the end of the year, you have a book. And someone said that to me when I first started, and it made it seem more manageable, because writing a book does feel sort of like a Herculean undertaking. And the other one is, I think that I personally don't edit at all, really, until I'm going back. I think sometimes people get really stuck in editing, and editing is so much slower. So I embrace the mess for the first draft and just try to get the bones of the story down, and then I go back.
Okay. Tori.
This is such an interesting question, because what would you advise them not to do? Usually we get asked the opposite. So I would say, do your best not to become overwhelmed by another author's path. You know, we're going, when you start writing, you get into the community, you start knowing everybody, you hear about all these amazing things that they're doing, skyrocket this, you know, this show, that show, all of these things that are going on, this deal. And it's easy to get overwhelmed by that. You know, you want to be aware of what everybody's doing. You want to be a good literary citizen and support them. But at the same time, be very careful to not compare paths, and to respect your own path and try and enjoy the journey.
That's really good. Brendan.
Do not take criticism personally. You will always get critiques, and there's always going to be someone who loves your work, and there'll always be someone who absolutely just destroys whatever it is that you've written. Do not take it personally. The criticism, in my opinion, it's like, you know, elbows. Everybody has one or two. Don't worry about it. It's someone, there will be a person, there will be a market for what it is that you write, and don't let the criticism, you take what you can use, you discard the rest, but don't ever take it personally.
All right, you guys heard it all here. So many good pieces of advice. Brendan, you were in the tough position of having to come up with something original that wasn't said already. So
I was going to say
all good
three
advice of
before.
what not to do. Yeah. Chris, do we have any other questions, parting questions before we close out?
No, I think that you've answered them all. I have to say, I was fascinated by all of you and loved hearing you read. I'm going to pick up everyone's books. My dad lived in Rockland for 20 years, so I've spent a lot of time in Maine. And I am always fascinated by serial killers. I used to tell my kids I was probably the housewife in Evergreen, Colorado that knew the most about serial killers than anyone in the world. And my brother-in-law is a Suzuki violin player, and I have all kinds of relatives that play violin. And as you saw in my question, my daughter lives in Kekaha on Kauai. So I even feel attached somehow. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to Michelle and Brendan and Tori and Lee for this wonderful event, and to you, our viewers, for joining us. And just a quick reminder, each of these books is available anywhere books are sold. We hope you will go pick up a copy now that you've met the authors personally. I also hope that you'll join us at our next Rogue Reads next month for another stellar lineup, where we will be hosting Delia Pitts, Vaseem Khan, Ryan Pote, and Christina Dodd, and our own Chris, who was running the tech for us tonight, is going to be emceeing. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for a fabulous event. Thank you to our authors for joining us. We are so excited that you were able to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
so
you.
Mahalo.
for
Have a great
having
evening.
me.